Welcome back, glorious PC World fans. It is indeed that time of the week again. Time for me to make sure that you didn't miss some of the biggest PC news since the last time we met. This week may have been lacking in major launches, but there was an excellent episode of The Full Nerd here on the channel where the team gave their top picks for Best of 2021. So make sure you check that fun one out. Spoiler alert, we didn't all agree most of the time. But what about the top news? Well, Intel has cut the cord on DX12 support for some older processors. Microsoft's PC Store is set to unlock Xbox games and enable mod support. Valve sent out some disappointing news regarding the Steam Deck, and Windows 11 SE is looking to take Chrome OS heads-on. More to cover than you may have thought, so let's do it to it. When I say that Intel is shutting down support for DX12 on older platforms, it sounds pretty nefarious and gives one of those, wait, what? Why? kind of moments. First, let me clarify what's getting shut off from DX12. Right now, it looks to be limited to the 4th generation of Intel Core processors and only when running the integrated GPU. So that's the Intel Core i3, i5, and i7 4000 series, as well as their Pentium and Celeron counterparts. Again, only when using the iGPU. So if you're running, say, an Intel Core i7 4790K with a Radeon RX 580, then you're good to go. I worry many will see this first part of the headline with this one and just think that Intel is locking out the whole system from DX12, and that's not the case. But why are they doing this? Well, as with most moves like this these days, it's for security purposes. Intel doesn't state whether they're working on a fix for it or not, but my personal guess would be that they aren't that concerned. The combinations will still work fine with DX11 and other APIs, but games and programs running strictly DX12 won't be able to run after the update. But let's move on to something that does get fixed. How about the ability to download games from the Microsoft Store or Game Pass app to a folder of your choice? Well, yeah, please. This has been a feature that I've personally have been wanting to see coming to the Microsoft Store and the Game Pass app because I like to control where my downloads end up. Something more granular than just which drive I want the game to be installed on. But here's the big kicker. Well, it's going to be opening up the ability to work in mods for some games, as you'll now have access to the folder and files unlike before. I know some folks out there will be scratching their heads thinking, hasn't this been a common feature in like every game launcher for a long time? And for the most part, you're right. But credit does need to be given to Microsoft here for loosening the reins. Xbox Game Pass for PC is one of the best values you can get your hands on, in my opinion, and this update will give it a bit more power to the players, as they say, and it's certainly worth highlighting. But in true 2020.1 fashion, we've got another delayed notification for something many of us, and that includes Adam and I, have been patiently waiting to hear an update on: this Valve Steam Deck. That's right, folks. In a not-so-glorious email that went out in the middle of that Full Nerd live stream this week, we got word that Valve was having to delay the launch of the upcoming Steam Deck. How long, you ask? Well, according to the email, Valve stated that it would be delaying the launch until February of 2022. Valve went on to say, "We're sorry about this. We did our best to work around the global supply chain issues, but due to material shortages, components aren't reaching our manufacturing facilities in time for us to meet our initial launch dates." Well, if you already have a pre-order in, then don't worry too much as your spot in line hasn't shifted. However, you're still going to have to wait as the whole line just got pushed back. Now, it's not the end of the world. At least they didn't cancel it entirely. And if you thought the real war for PC and Windows placement over the past few years was in the hearts and minds of gamers and work professionals, well, then you've missed one of the biggest markets, the classroom. Yeah, I know it's not that exciting of a news, but we've all got to get started somewhere with computers, and more than ever, they're being used in classrooms. That has been an easy win over the past few years for Google with its Chromebooks and Chrome OS, but now Microsoft wants to tackle that market with gusto. Microsoft has introduced Windows 11 SE, a super slimmed down version of Windows 11 for very inexpensive laptops that don't require much power to run. But unlike Chrome OS, Windows 11 SE is much more flexible in that it'll support third-party applications like Chrome and Zoom rather than through browser versions of these applications. That's a huge win for Microsoft. And with it comes, of course, a Microsoft Surface product to support it. The new Microsoft Surface SE is going to start at $249, which is insane. Now look, sure, the specs aren't going to convince a power user to load one up, especially with that devil resolution of 1366 by 768 and powered by a Celeron processor, but for little Johnny who needs something solid to keep up in class with, it's perfect. Microsoft isn't going alone here, as there will be options from Acer, Asus, Dell, and many more coming very soon. Well, there you have it, folks. Another action-packed week wrapped up in a nice little package. Intel may be shutting down DX12 support on older chips, but it's not as dire as it may sound. Microsoft is handing the keys to the folders over to its users when it comes to the Microsoft Store and Game Pass installs, and Valve officially delays the launch of the Steam Deck. Sad face. And Microsoft is going after Chrome OS hard with Windows 11 SE and the Surface Laptop SE. Now I want to thank you all once again for joining me as we rustled up the more interesting topics of the week that you may have missed. If you enjoyed it, let me know by hitting the thumbs up button and make sure you're subscribed here at PC World for even more PC hardware and software goodness.